Hi guys. I had to put the Cherokee up on the lift today. I had a bad tie rod end and I got that taken care of, but while it was up here, you guys have been bugging me about doing a suspension walk around and an exterior walk around on the Cherokee, so I figured being it's in here and I got the time and I got the lift up, I might as well show you what's going on. So why not film another one for you? So here we go. I'll take you around the Cherokee suspension and wheels and tires and what all I got done to it. So thanks for being here. If you could hit that thumbs up button for me, I'd appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. It'll keep you up to date on the projects, help the channel grow, help me keep filming, help me keep editing. It's a pain in the butt, but anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks for being here, guys. Take care. Alright, so here's the XJ. This is a 2000 Jeep Cherokee. It's a Freedom Edition. The Freedom Editions were only built for 1 year in 2000, and it got a couple of special things on it. Nothing really that special, but the Freedom Editions got the 5.9 Grand Cherokee wheels. They got the chrome grille. The door bumpers were deleted. They got a little Freedom badge by the Cherokee, and they got blue striping down the sides that were specific to the Freedoms. It's titled as a Sport on the title, but it is a Freedom Edition. Sandstone silver is the color, and this one has 255,000 miles on it. I've had this vehicle for about 10 years. I've built several Cherokees, and this thing's been through several stages. But there she is in all of her glory for this phase. So I guess we'll start with front suspension. So we've got a high pinion Dana 30. The 2000 and 2001 Cherokees came with a low pinion front end, and I wanted to get a little bit of better driveline angle and drop, yada yada, so I went with a 92. This was from my other Cherokee that I had before I had this one. It's one of the last surviving pieces of that Cherokee, and it's still on my current Cherokee. So it's a Dana 30 high pinion out of a 92. It's got 456 gears in it. Those are nitro gears. I run a Yukon Grizzly front locker. It's a full case front locker. It's a competitor to the Detroit. I love that thing. I've only had one issue with it, and it was because I was running too big a tire doing something I shouldn't have been doing on a Dana 30. The axle shafts are 4340 chromollies from Yukon. Those are inners and outers. I've gone through several of the Yukon joints, so the Yukon joints are no longer in there. I think I'm running like a Duralast or something, like an AutoZone GPU joint, because they go through them so much that I just put those in there. So we run a JCR over the knuckle 1-ton GM tie rod end kit. That's the full kit. I have tapered adapters in mine. At the time I put this front end together, I wasn't skilled or didn't know enough to do the whole reaming process. Since then I've crossed that bridge and I know how to ream everything. I just have never changed the tapered inserts out. Actually, that was my problem today over here on this one. The tapered insert came loose from the knuckle, so I had to re-weld it to the knuckle. I do run the JCR donuts under the driver's side, under the Y-link, and then I run a rough stuff cure on the passenger side. The rough stuff cure is really the only thing that's going to prevent this tie rod from rolling. I had real bad tie rod roll issues, and I could never solve it until Rough Stuff came out with that cure. So I run the Rough Stuff cure on the passenger side and the JCR donuts, and that prevents this 1-ton tie rod from rolling around and giving you that famous dead spot. I run a factory sway bar. And then I run 2.5-inch drop bracket then because I went over the knuckle, I had to run the JCR tie rod bracket, and that's welded to the C. This front axle does not have C gussets, it does not have sleeves, and it does not have a truss. I ran up to a 35-inch tire on this axle with a locker on the front end, and I haven't had a deflection issue. But I'm very, very nice to my Jeep, and I don't beat the snot out of it when I'm in the rocks. I crawl everywhere I go with this thing. Coil springs are 4.5-inch, 4.5-inch Rubicon Express. I've had these in here for about 7 years, and I love the Rubicon Express coils. They get a lot of crap, Rubicon Express does, but I love the way these things ride. They're nice and squishy. They haven't really sagged too much over the years, and I just can't justify going to anything else. I run the Daystar extended bump stops. I used to have hockey pucks in the bottom, but I removed the hockey pucks and went with the Daystar. It's a lot better of a setup in my opinion, and I can adjust it if I need to, an inch at a time. I'm set up with a Rough Stuff panhard bar kit. Now this is what's left of the bracket that was supplied with Rough Stuff, by Rough Stuff. But as you can see, I've replated this entire front uniframe. So I had an issue once I got all this done, where from here all the way up to the front, this whole area when I was using the steering was actually walking like this really bad, and I wasn't willing to scrap the Jeep over it, which is what a lot of people do when they start having that unibody walk issue. So I went ahead and built a frame. This is all 3/16 plate. I do have unibody stiffeners in the center. My center unibody stiffeners are HD Engineering. They've been a Jeep Cherokee company that's been around a long time, and I wanted to continue to support their company because I didn't want the little guy to get squeezed out, so I bought those from HD. The other thing that I did when I was in here plating everything is I built a panhard bar bracket, or a panhard bar brace that goes across the front and then comes over, and I used an extra heim joint and tied it into the outside, so that panhard bar's got support all the way over here to the passenger side. I'm trying to keep my angles right for you guys on this camera. And so it's just secured there with some flat bar, square tube, made a little brace, and across over here. So that's panhard bar setup and the panhard bar brace. So my control arms are long arms. They're currently running Rough Stuff 1.25" heims at the body side. At the axle side, I run a polyurethane joint to keep the road noise down and still allow me to flex. My upper is a passenger side upper with a Rough Stuff bracket on both sides. This one has a ballistic joint with the polyurethane innards on the body side, and it has a 7/8 inch heim joint on the axle side. I did not run this through the floor. This is flush with the bottom of the floor. And then my brackets on my cross member, which is a custom made cross member, are down below it just slightly. So I go from there with my lower down to the axle. And let's see if I can get this upper here for you. Going the wrong way. And there's that upper bracket. And that upper control arm. This is going to be a little hard to see because I got it tucked up in there so well, but the bottom of that cross member. Let's see if I can put the light down for a second. So there's the bottom of the cross member. On the back of it I built an angled skid plate at a 3/16. And then inside the skid plate in here is a piece of 3/4 inch steel that comes across it. It'll prevent it from bowing if I do tag it. And then I stopped it right there at the back of the transfer case. My transfer case is a 231J, a new process 231J, 23 spline. It's the standard transmission that came, or the standard transfer case that came with the unit, with the vehicle. I did replace the slip yoke with the slip yoke eliminator. Mine is manufactured by PORC. They were one of the first guys to come out with the slip yoke eliminator for these Jeeps, and I wanted to stay with something that had a lot of R&D. So it's got a PORC. Those are available on Amazon. That's where I got mine. Because I have an automatic with the AW4 and a 29 spline 8 1/4 rear end, I was able to use a factory Cherokee drive shaft, front and rear, from an automatic AW4 and a 231. Any of them will work, and they're about the same length front and rear, which allows me to swap the rear to the front, or the front to the rear if I have an issue on the trail. And if I want to carry spare drive lines, I only have to carry one spare drive line, and it's a factory unit that you can get at a wrecking yard for about 20 bucks. Just a little better shot of my frame stiffeners. These were put on after I did some damage to the uniframe. I wheeled this pretty hard on 31s, open for a good 3 or 4 or 5 years before I put it all together. So there's a little battle scars here and there. So my rear suspension is a little bit different than what most Cherokee guys run. I wanted to keep a flat leaf at ride height, but I also wanted a lot more droop, and I wanted to be able to carry a little bit more cargo. So I built a bastard pack out of a Dodge Durango leaf pack. So this is a Dodge Durango main and all the extras. So there's the main. This is a Cherokee main that I cut the eyelets off of and installed into it. Then I have Dakota, Cherokee on the bottom, and then I removed the overload pack from the Dakota. I run shackle relocation brackets. Those are the lift brackets, not the non-lift brackets. So these ones will give you about 1.5 inches of lift when you install these, even with the factory shackle. These are HD Engineering boomerang shackles. I run a boomerang shackle to get my angle just a little bit better. At full droop, as you can see, I'm at close to 15 degrees. At ride height, I am about 50 to 55 degrees on my shackle. So it's pretty squishy back here, but I really enjoy the way it runs through the sand and runs through the whoop-de-doos and the washboard roads. So I don't want to affect that and make it any more stiffer. And my ride height is where I want it. I'm nice and even front to rear. So that's what that is. HD Engineering shackle relocation brackets, TNT Fab, TNT off-road 4x4, I forget what they're going by now, but that's TNT boomerang brackets, and a Dodge Dakota bastard pack for the leaves. So because the center pin for the Dakota leaf springs was in a different location, I run Rough Stuff spring purchase, and the Rough Stuff spring purchase have 3 center eye locations in them so that you can move this forward to aft a little bit and I've actually got mine in the aftmost position on the spring perch in order to maintain my tire center location as it stuffs. And when I'm at full stuff, I'm nice and even between the wheel wells here and here. So I run the Rough Stuff bomb-proof shock mounts on the rear axle. Those allowed me to run them flush with the bottom of the tube and get a little more clearance, and it also protected them pretty much all the way around, so I've never hit a shock on anything. And you can see that I've hit stuff with the perches, so those are nice and protected. I run a Rough Stuff 3/8 diff cover. It's the best one you can get on the market, and it's part of the reason why I don't worry about running a truss back here, because this thing will take care of a lot of deflection. It's actually that strong. Inside this is 456 gears. I believe those are nitros as well. They might be USA standards or USA gear. And then it has a Detroit True Track in it. I used to run an Aussie locker. I put 45,000 miles on my Aussie locker before I started to have tolerance issues that I couldn't fix with center pins. And I was tired of adjusting it and moving it and dealing with it after 50,000 miles or so. I decided to go with the Detroit True Track. I'll tell you what, guys, that True Track is probably the best modification of all this stuff that I've done to the Jeep. I absolutely love that True Track, especially in the snow and the gravel and the wet. It starts searching for traction back and forth. So you feel one tire slip, and then right as it starts to slip, you feel that other tire start to grab, and then it whoop, kicks you off down the road. It's almost like a mini traction control. It works awesome for these things, and I love it to death. Factory gas tank skid plate. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Now I know you guys are gonna ask, what the hell did you do for the shock mounts on the top, on the body side? If you get as much droop as you do, I'll just cut to the chase. I didn't cut my floor. I put a bar in. This is actually a factory transmission crossmember. My factory transmission crossmember that I removed. I flipped it over upside down. Kind of dirty, so hopefully you can see it in the video. And then I added some supports out here so it wouldn't flex. Cut the ends of them off. Built a piece of angle iron. Welded it to the unit frame there. And I built me some nice little brackets up there, right by my rock light. And right there. And I angled them in about 20-30 degrees, it looks like. And now I've got the droop that I need and the up travel I need, and I don't have to have that long of a shock. So that's what I did there. I run Skyjacker Hydro 7000s on the back, about the cheapest shock you can buy. I think I might even have those ones on the front still too. Yeah, I still got the Hydros on the front too. I had a Skyjacker M95s on the front. I love those, but I blew one up because of lack of bump stop, and I'm going to replace them. But I don't do Bilsteins or any of that. I like to stick with the Skyjackers. They work good, they're cheap, they're guaranteed for life. I ain't got to worry about it. My exhaust is 2.5 inch from the factory flange. This is a performance curve, 2.5 inch in, 2.5 inch out catalytic converter. And this is a performance curve chambered muffler that's round tube and welded. So it looks like a cherry bomb or a glass pack kind of a muffler. But when you actually look through this, it has 2 chambers inside of it, which makes up my spark arrestor. And my catalytic converter also makes up my spark arrestor. So I'm still OEM factory, and I'm pretty sure I could pass sniffer test if I needed to. I don't have sniffer test in my area, so it's not something that I have to worry about. And then I just turned it down right between the leaf spring and the hanger, because with how tight this is back here, I didn't want to try and bring it through there. So that's where I cut my exhaust off, and it just dumps straight down to the ground. Apologies for the heater, it's cold in here. So, rear bumper. I didn't really like anything that was on the market. They either hung down too low or they were up too far in the center of the window, and I wanted to be able to use my back window still. And I don't like those single pivot points, the single shear point. I've seen a lot of them wiggle on the trail and actually take out back windows. I wanted mine to stay solid, so I built this one off of my quarter panel guards. So these are JCR quarter panel guards. They're 10 gauge. The JCR lights suck. The fitment sucks. Everything about it I don't like. But regardless, there they are. They're not coming off. The front skins are by a company that's no longer around anymore. They're called Jeep Tubes. If you guys are looking for skins, contact my buddy Chris Steins at Bones Customs Creations in Oregon City. He's the one that helped develop these with Jeep Tubes. And now that Jeep Tubes isn't around anymore, Bones actually makes an XJ skin that's, I think, 3/16 or 10 gauge. These are actually 1/8 inch, and that's why mine has a little bit of a bow to it. But Chris Steins will hook you up at Bones Customs if you guys are looking for those. Anyway, so I used a DOM bushing here. So I use a DOM bushing there. This is a Rough Stuff control arm bracket, Rough Stuff DOM. This is just all tube that I bought, scrap tube. And then I made this top fish plate. I just cut a template the way I wanted it, and then kind of shaped it. So then I just kind of shaped it the way I wanted it to clear the quarter panel. And then I welded it to the top. So that's that. And that's that. And then this rear bumper actually has a tie-in underneath here on the bottom. Has a tie-in underneath on the bottom that goes underneath the hitch, and then it also has one behind this square tube that runs inside the uniframe that pinches it when you secure the hitch to it. So this is kind of all a real assembly operation of assembly kind of a deal when the back end goes back together. So you got to put the bumper on, and then the relocation brackets, or the relocation, let's see here. So you put the relocation brackets on first, then the rear bumper, then the hitch, then you tie it all together. I added this bracket to the unirail and a stud to help support the front of the hitch, because I use the hitch to tow my custom built camp trailer. So I wanted that to be secure. So there's the bumper. I'm going to cap this off. I don't want to do a cut and fold because of how low my shackle hangs already. So I'm going to cap this bumper off when I fix this all, and I'm going to fix all that and then tie it up. I really wanted a C-Rock bumper, but I also wanted to swing away, so I just built this. So my rock sliders are Warrior Products rock sliders. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I got them on a trade deal. I did a paint job on one of their SEMA rigs. I think it was like 2013 or something, SEMA show, and they gave me a bunch of armor as parts. So I've had these ever since. They have the plastic caps on the ends, which I hate, but I've ripped them off twice, but they're still kind of there, I guess. And it's just a 2x4 square tube with legs down, and they used to bolt to the uniframe, but I welded them to the stiffeners this time, so they're welded to the stiffeners, and then they bolt to the pinch seam underneath. My front bumper is a Warrior Products front bumper, and then I modified the winch mounting position so that I could run the old worn 8274. It's a gear driven winch. This one's actually a really old school unit that I got from a friend of mine a long time ago. It still works like a champ. The brake needs rebuilt, but other than that it works great. So I always get questions about my roof rack. This actually isn't a roof rack, and it's not a roll cage. This is what's called tree sliders. These are also made, or were made, by HD Engineering. Rumor has it, and I haven't contacted them about it, but rumor has it they took it off the website because shipping costs were too outrageous. They do custom fab over there at HD Engineering. Like, they have a shop like I do, and they also have website sales. Rumor has it you can still get these from them if you call them and want them to custom build this for you. They still have all the plans, and they'll whip one out for you if you want to pay for the shipping. But that's the reason that they're not on the website anymore. But these are HD Engineering XJ tree sliders. So when you're on the trail, especially in the Pacific Northwest where the trees are really tight, you start to lean this thing over. You can actually see I did it once on a trail called Waterfall, but I got the roof and the pinch seam on a tree when I leaned off a rock. But these will, they won't protect you from a rollover, but they'll protect you from tipping over into a tree, and they actually do protect the door handles quite a bit. The slider sticks out and the tree slider sticks out, so I got a little bit of door handle protection. I still managed to get the door handles on this side. This door is pushed in a little bit and the paint broke right there, but so they're not the ultimate protection. A lot of people run standoffs in the Pacific Northwest too on their quarter panels just to help with the door handles. But anyway, there's my tree sliders, my roof rack. There's HD Engineering tree sliders. I run a 43-inch single row light bar. I run a 22-inch single light bar on the sides, and then I run a 12-inch double row for my reverse lights. That stuff's all right here on the console. If you're looking for the correct color rocker switches, the color is called laser blue. It's not green, it's not blue, it's laser blue is the correct color to match your factory instrument cluster gauges. And I had to wait, actually one of those switches came all the way across the pond, and I had to wait for the shipping container to get one switch, but they're that laser green, laser blue color. So anyway, that was a pain to get. Laser blue switches. Here's my rock light switch panel and my fog lights. My fog lights are on a double relay, so they come on So these will come on with my high beams, and they'll also come on with the switch just by itself. Those are Hella 550 FFs, I think. They used to be able to get them at Walmart, now you have to get them online only, and I've had mine for longer than light bars have even been around. Those have been on my rig, and that's why they're there. But I have HID, H4 HID upgrade, and I have a custom built upgraded harness. I had an aftermarket harness and I burnt it up, and so I ended up building a harness with a short ground wire pigtail instead of using the factory headlight ground. I used just a short pigtail and then chassis grounded it up here to the core support. The shorter the ground is, the less heat you're going to transfer through the positive, and that's what I was having a problem with. Is I was having the line was overheating, and it actually melted the terminals on the back of the H4. So I rebuilt it with a heavier gauge, better terminals, and then I shortened up the ground, and that was able to cool those wires off. So H4 HIDs, and I run the 6Ks. I think they're like 4K low, 6K high, something like that. And then these come on with the highs, so that's all good, and I can see fine. Wheels and tires. I run a 16-inch wheel, and I said earlier in the video that this is the factory 5.9 limited edition wheels. These are called Silver Stars? No. I forgot the name of these. Post in the comments. Come on, Jeep guys. Anyway, 5.9 and Freedom Edition. And then I originally built a Jeep for a 305 60 16, which is a pretty close to a 33 12.5. I love the Duratracs. The reason I run the Duratracs is because they're snowflake rated. They have incredible tire life. They're middle of the road as far as road noise. They have excellent wet traction, excellent mileage, excellent snow traction, and the lateral siping on these things is bar none. Like none of the other tire manufacturers, even like the new KM3s, don't have the lateral siping that these things do. So when you look at these tires, they've got the siping this direction, but then they also have the siping turn here. See how the siping is vertical siping, vertical siping, and then down inside the tread blocks you have these little grippies. And I'll tell you what, when I park on the snow, every one of these little downward grippies and every one of these line grippies right here, they're all packed with snow as soon as you stop. This will be smooth on top just like that, and you'll have little snow, 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 snow. That's all the traction it gets. Between these Duratracs and the limited slip that I have in the back, the mechanical limited slip, it's the Detroit True Track. Between these and my gears, I can pretty much plow through just about any of the gnarly stuff that we find in two-wheel drive. If there's any trail broken in front of me, I two-wheel drive all day long. If I have to break trail, that's when I usually put it in 4 low or 4 high and do its business. But I love these things. So the 305s I had on there, I got 45,000 miles out of them, and they still had 30%. I ended up poking a hole in one of them. Goodyear stopped making the Duratrac in the 305 60, so I had to go to a 315, which is a 35-inch tire. When I did the 35-inch tire, I started rubbing and had to add bump stop, and I broke chromollies, I broke the locker, I was rubbing, I had to add a bunch of bump stop back here. So after 2 years of all that nonsense, I decided that rather than have the 315, that I just needed to go down to the 285, which is available all day long. So now I run the Duratrac in a 285 70 16. So maybe we have a 75 aspect ratio. Yeah, 285 75 16. It's been great. I don't have any more rubbing issues. I got all my up travel, all my down travel, all my steering back. I don't got any rubbing issues, and it drives down the road like a dream. So I am a little bit lower geared than stock with the 33-inch tire and a 456, but that's because I tow the camp trailer. And I go up the pass with the Jeep, and it does very well. I have to keep it in third, which is like, you know, 55, 60 miles an hour everywhere I go, but it's worth the sacrifice to be able to take my trailer with me. So anyway, some people will wonder how it does with the 456s and the 33s. It does great. It is a little bit lower than stock, so when you're driving down the freeway, you're hard pressed to keep 70. 75 or 80 is, you're screaming. Anyway, I like it the way it is. It's got all the power in the world, and she does anything I want her to. So I'm not sure what else I can tell you guys about her. I think I covered everything. If I missed something, hit me up in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer your questions. I can take some pictures or another quick walk around video for you if you want. So the last thing I want to address is the transmission and the mileage and the year and the motor. It is a 2000, so I have that craptastic head on there with the coil packs that loves to crack in between 3 and 4. I haven't had a crack yet. I have had to replace my whole cooling system. I have had to keep my eye on it, and I'm a stickler. I'm really anal about it. I'll shut it down if it gets too warm. Do yourself a favor, pay for a transmission pump. Even if you go and buy your own fluid, you get a deal at Walmart or something, take it down to Amco or take it down to somebody that's got an actual pump that it's willing to pump it out for labor. It cost me about 60, 70 bucks to have mine pumped out. I took them a case of fluid, they pumped it out. I put a new filter in it before I took it down there, popped the pan, put a new pan gasket, and then drove it straight to the tranny shop and had them pump it out, all the old fluid out of the torque converter, and pump new fluid in. Jeep insurance, and I got this thing when I had 184,000 on it, and I'm past 250,000 with it now, and so that's 60,000 miles of heavy wheeling, heavy towing, taking the family, taking the snow, going summer times in extreme heat with the air conditioner on to extreme low temperatures, sub-freezing, sub-0 degree starts. Does fine. Just keep your eye on that tooling, that temperature gauge, and you'll be all good. But Anyway guys, I just wanted to share a little bit of the Jeep with you. You guys have been asking about suspension and wheels and tires, and so there she is, and I got the armor and the lights for you. If there's anything else that I missed or you guys are curious, just post up in the comments below, or shoot me an email, or however you want to work it. I'm all good. I'll answer your questions as they come in. I appreciate all the subscriptions, appreciate the views. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.